So those are the ones I want to cover today. I am just scratching the surface. There's plenty more. And we welcome callers. Call in and tell us, what you think of these, whether you've seen these sorts of things, whether you have additional examples. So what I'm going to do is go through each of these and talk about how it works and give some examples of it, and then, of course, why you shouldn't believe in it. So that's the structure of the show. I want to hit 5 of those. I don't know whether we'll make it through all 5, but did you have anything?
No.
No. Go ahead.
Let's go.
Special knowledge and power. So priests and ministers and imams all claim, their main claim to fame is that they have some special relationship with the big guy, Hank, and that relationship can help you immensely if only you'll do a little favor for them in return. So that's the basis of this. So tithing, you end up giving your tithing to the church in order to reap these benefits of the special knowledge, special power. You give your life over to God. You spread the good news. You raise your children in the religion and those sorts of things. Those are the types of things you give in return. These folks may, here's some examples. They may offer you protection from the evils of the world.
By the way.
Yes.
To be fair, and before anybody calls in, although maybe I should just let somebody call in and then we can correct it after the fact. We're not necessarily painting all believers with the same brush. And we're not saying Don's kind of scam thing is a simplification so that you can understand it's not like a preacher gets up there and says, I got a special hotline to God, and if you give me money, I'll hook you up. It's couched slightly more subtle.
Oh yes, it's much more subtlety. Right? So I'm giving the kind of
But by giving the caricature, hopefully you can identify it, because this is in fact what happens. And you see it all the time. You see ministers say, you're not giving money to me, you're giving money to the Lord to carry on the Lord's good work so that we can keep doing what we need to do. And if the Lord happens to give me a private plane and a Mercedes in order to do that work, that's his choice.
Anyway. So we talked about amulets and these sorts of things. Well, even in modern times, it's a very common topic, protection from evil as a sermon topic, right? Billy Graham was, I understand, the master of this. He would go on and on at the beginnings of the sermons about how we have a fallen world and it's a terrible place, and if you just give yourself over to God and Jesus, things will be okay. And so he's offering you this protection from the evils of the world. You see this play out in the rhetoric of the religious right, that the liberals are evil, and we need to have protection from the liberal agendas and gays and all these things. And
by the way, for the people who may be objecting to this, about saying that it's a scam, who think that there's actually something real in it, this isn't limited to Christianity or any one religion or anything else. Is investigatable, verifiable, independently confirmable. Otherwise, you're engaged in a bit of special pleading. You are dismissing those things that you consider absurd without evidence, and then allowing a few extras in because they're your personal beliefs. These are the ones you prefer or that you were raised with.
Here's another variation of the special knowledge and power, and they may offer you to fix your problems. So if you're sick, a faith healer might want to extract a little money out of you to do some cure you of whatever ill you have, and we can talk a lot about that in a little bit. They may offer to fix your money woes. So the prosperity gospel, which is very, very popular, is based on this idea that if you give a little bit of money to your church or whatever and earn God's favor, you'll reap the rewards of God's blessings and make a lot of money. And it works on a confirmation bias thing, right? So it's a scam in that if there is a success, then they take credit for it, which is coming up later, taking credit.
Right.
If there's not a success, well, you haven't given enough. So either way, they win, right? It's heads you win.
Or they're just not going to report it. You're never going to hear about the cases where it failed, where somebody donated the last of their checking account and then ended up in a soup kitchen the next week because it didn't work out.
So yeah, this is the basis of the prosperity gospel. Yep. The next little scamlet I wanted to cover. Apparently, I'm going to be back next time talking about more of these things.
Yes.
But let me try to hit another one today. I think I can squeeze it in, and that's stealing credit.
The thing, though, is you can't make a scamlet without breaking a few nest eggs.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
If that was short enough to fit on a bumper sticker, I'd have already copyrighted it.
Okay. All right. Well, we were talking about, astronomy, and if you can predict when the seasons are going to change and when the sun's going to start coming the other direction, man, you got a lot of power in your hands, because you can play exactly on this ignorance, and you can say, oh, well, I am causing it. Pay homage to me. Give me some money. Give me some donuts, whatever the people want, some virgins, whatever, right? So this is stealing credit. And you see this all over the place, where something happens because of reason X, but it gets co-opted, and the credit gets swiped for God or for the religion or for all whatever, right? So one of the basic strategies of Christianity, and this is I think a big one, is you go out and you find the people that are at the bottom of the bottom. They're down and out. They're poor. They're downtrodden. They're sick. All these things, and they're just at sort of wit's end. And you find these people and you give them a little bit of help. You give them some soup, whatever, and you convey the belief in Christianity at the same time. Okay, so you've helped them a little bit. Which is a good thing, nothing wrong with that. You've given them belief in Christianity, which is kind of a string attached. Okay.
And see, I'd like to point out that every Sunday on the bridge down, the overpass downtown by 7th Street, there's some religious organization that passes out food to the homeless. Mm-hmm. They have a big turnout there almost every week. I haven't actually gone to attend. I do know that they often play Christian religious music. I'm assuming that they probably do some proselytizing, because I think the music alone will qualify that. I'll applaud them all day long for the work that they're doing to feed the homeless.
Good stuff.
I wouldn't have any objection at all if they'd stop tainting the gift by adding this kind of string attached thing. Okay, the guy who's starving, more than happy to listen to your music and hear your sermon if you're going to feed him afterwards.
It's a practical matter, right?
The real test of whether or not your religion is true in the ability that it has to affect people's lives is when they'll sit there and listen to your sermons when they're not hungry and they're not already a believer. And once you got your hooks into them, well, of course. But I mean, if your message is that strong, and by the way, this has no testament at all to whether or not the message is ultimately true. There's a difference between whether it can be effective and whether it can be emotionally appealing. I'm just talking about from the standpoint of whether or not you happen to be an effective minister for whatever it is that you're pushing. If you can minister without the ham sandwich attached, okay, well now maybe we can start looking a step deeper as to whether or not there's anything to what you're saying, or whether you're just really charismatic.